women in the U.S. Senate are complaining about sexism on the presidential campaign trail. Democrats such as Maryland Senator Barbara Mikulski are saying that Hillary Clinton is often judged by a double standard. Quote, many of we women feel that there is a double standard. What's being said about Hillary is what women have heard for centuries. You're too loud. You're too aggressive. You're too pushy. Why do you want the vote? Lars Larson joins me now, syndicated radio host for Compass Media Networks, and Leslie Marshall is a syndicated radio talk show host and a Fox News contributor. Welcome to you both. It's good to have you both here this morning. I want to start by playing an exchange that sort of is what got this conversation started in the first place, and Dianne Feinstein has also been singing a similar tune on this. But this is the conversation that they've referenced.
She shouts. There is something unrelaxed about the way she is communicating.
I was watching her, and I said to myself, has nobody told her
Kristen has interesting information
that the microphone works?
Leslie, obviously that was a critique of Hillary Clinton on the campaign trail. But is anything about that critique sexist?
I really do feel that it is, and not just because I'm a woman and I'm pro-Hillary, but I deal with this in radio all the time, to be honest with you, Martha. It's, when a woman gets passionate or a woman is angry, she's shrill. I don't know about you, but Bernie Sanders screams regularly. Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, all of the male candidates have been screaming regularly, and nobody has brought that up. It's a reality that Hillary Clinton is a female, and whether it's conscious or subconscious, there is some sexism there. And I think that they're pointing out what her voice was doing and the level of her voice as opposed to what she was saying, and focusing on how she was saying it is telling.
Lars, is that what you see at work here?
No, come on. Listen, back when Howard Dean screamed incomprehensibly, nobody said it was sexist that people said the guy's a little off the edge, and it effectively marked the end of his campaign. When people mock and ridicule Donald Trump's hair, nobody says, well, you're being sexist to poor Donald. But if you say a word about Hillary Clinton's hair, well, that's being sexist. The fact is she stood right there while Madeleine Albright said that women will go to hell if they don't vote for Hillary Clinton. And that's not sexism. Hillary comes into this race with a real advantage. We all know that there were people who voted for Barack Obama because he was black. And we know that this time around, there will be women and men who will vote for Hillary Clinton because she's a woman. She wants to have it both ways. She gets the advantage of getting votes that are based in part on her gender or in whole, and then she wants to complain that she's not being treated by the same standard. Of course she is.
I just want to read a little something that Peggy Noonan said. She said that Clinton's voice sometimes becomes, quote, loud, flat, and harassing to the ear. She said she reminded her of a landlady yelling up the stairs that your kids have left the bikes in the hall again. Leslie, I just wonder, Hillary Clinton has been having a little bit more of a tough time than people thought she was going to have, right? We weren't hearing these things from Senators Feinstein and Mikulski at the beginning of this race. We're hearing them now. And when you talk about the yelling that is absolutely done by Donald Trump and absolutely done by Bernie Sanders, the other thing that we always hear related to those two candidates is that they have an authenticity, that they're reaching. You can yell at the top of your lungs, but if you're yelling with meaning about what you're saying and you're connecting with the people you're talking to, it comes across differently. I think the suggestion is that she's pushing it for effect, and perhaps it's not having that effect. Is that a possibility of what's really going on here?
I think that some people want to use that explanation as justification for the fact that they're giving a different reason as to why the men do it versus the woman. Why can't her passion or her anger or her frustration on what she's saying be as real as it is for the men? I like Peggy Noonan, but I got to say meow to that statement.
Why is it meow, though, Leslie? Why is it always a cat fight? Why is it always a cat fight when two women have a criticism about each other? Why does it have to turn into that? To me, that's just digging us back into the hole, right? If we go at each other, it's got to be a cat fight. Why can't it just be criticism based on whether or not a candidate, regardless of their sex, is managing to get their message across effectively? I think that's what we're really talking about here, Lars.
It's exactly what we're talking about here. And Hillary can't have it both ways. She's got to take the fact that sometimes she connects with voters, but many times she does not connect with voters. What she's saying is not resonating. And I think there's a certain amount of panic on her part because she thought she was going to roll into this, just like she thought she was going to roll to the nomination in 2008. And I think she sees it slipping away from her to a guy that nobody ever thought Americans would back, a full-blown socialist, but he's outdoing her in the actual primaries, and she's afraid she's going to lose it a second time. And it's coming through in her voice. It happens to both men and women who are running for office when they begin to panic.
Leslie? I mean, you know,
Well,
is
Bernie
the vote for
Sanders,
me because I'm a woman, tagline, is it just less effective in today's world? I mean, you know, you've got all these young college women who are, you know, very happy to vote for Bernie Sanders. Does the message that is about that, about Hillary and about Dianne Feinstein and Barbara Mikulski, both women have long, you know, respectable careers to be sure. But I don't know if it resonates anymore, just because she's a woman stuff.
I don't know, honestly, if they're saying it to resonate. I think it's conversations that have been held behind closed doors among these women, and they just want to come out there and say it because it's the elephant in the room to a certain degree. Look, the reality is, if Hillary Clinton is the nominee, and even before that, when she stands there on stage debating Senator Sanders, it is a debate between a man and a woman. If she becomes the nominee, it does become a race to some degree between a man and a woman. And Lars, to your point about woman and her having an advantage, the numbers aren't showing that. The women are voting en masse right now for Bernie Sanders. And he, by the way,
because
with a huge double-digit lead, and Bernie Sanders with a huge double-digit lead in New Hampshire was screaming. So I don't think it's always anger and desperation. I do often feel it is passion, whether it is Hillary, Bernie, Donald, Ted, or whoever's yelling.
We got to go. Good conversation, though, you guys. Thank you very much, Leslie and Lars.
Martha.
Good to see you both.